What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So over on my Instagram page this week I put up a poll asking for my next TeamSport video, would you like me to go to a new track or revisit an old track, and it was an overwhelming 80% for a new track. So I jumped straight onto TeamSport's website and booked myself on for a Friday night 3 for 2 at their Stoke track, which is electric karts. Let me tell you, electric karting for indoor use is the way forward. I can't explain it. They are so much fun. I've always been skeptical because I've always thought motorsport of any kind should be a proper internal combustion engine. However, after having spent 45 minutes in one of those electric karts, my mind is completely changed. Indoor karting should be electric all the way. I actually preferred it, I think, to normal petrol karting. They're so much fun, and if you've not been in one before, like myself, I urge you, get booked onto one. They're brilliant, but I'll explain the differences between them later on in this video. But for now, let's get into this one. I hope you enjoy watching it as much as I enjoyed making it, and as always, if you do enjoy it, please give me a like, drop me a comment down below, and if you don't already, consider subscribing to the channel. And also, don't forget about the little giveaway we've got going, which, if you watch my previous video, will explain everything you need to know. So let's get stuck into this one. Let's go then. My first time out in an electric car, and just have a listen to this. How weird is that? Complete and utter silence, just a little hum of an electric engine behind you and the screech of tyres going around corners. But it didn't dawn on me at the time, but it has done since I've been back to a normal internal combustion engine car, why it's so quiet here. Because these don't have the engine, they have no fumes, which means there's no need for a giant ventilation system in the warehouse. So I think it's kind of like being at a silent disco, but for go-karts, where you've got the noise of people, or in this case the karts, moving around with the tyre screeching, but no ambient noise of the music, and again in this case, engines and ventilation. So it's a very strange experience to start with, but after this first session you soon forget about it, and then just spend the rest of the evening trying to keep the back end of these karts in check, because being an electric kart, you put your foot down and you've got instant power and instant torque, and they want to slide everywhere, which, as you'll have seen from the title of this session, Bambi on Ice, is pretty much what it was like. I was sliding around corners left, right and centre. I spent most of my session drifting, I think, because this track's quite slippy. I was struggling to find the grip, but it eventually came to me in the later sessions. So let's talk about these karts then, and to the regular TeamSport customer that they get that will go karting a couple of times a year, they probably won't see any difference. However, to someone like me, and probably a lot of you guys out there that go on a regular basis, you are going to notice a few little differences. The main one being the seating position. If you've ever looked at a petrol kart, either from head on or sort of directly above, you'll see that the seat is always off to one side, or it's always off to the left hand side to make room for the engine next to you, whereas these, obviously they don't have that. Everything's in the floor, so you're sat directly in the middle of the car, which makes for a better driving position in that aspect. However, because of the battery pack and the motor, I felt like my seat was a lot higher up. I use a seat insert for comfort reasons, to protect my back and ribs from any impacts of me driving myself into a barrier or someone driving themselves into me. This raised me up just that little bit too much, and I was not very comfortable with the position I was in, because being raised up, it kind of raised my feet up, which then meant my right foot, the throttle pedal, my heel was never touching the floor. But it took this session and partway through the second session to sort of get used to that, and then get myself into a position where my heel was touching the floor, so I had better control of the throttle. And then apart from that, one of the other major differences with these karts is when there's a yellow flag, they can turn the karts down, all of them, so you all go at the same pace, so no one can overtake you, no one can go excessively fast under the yellow flags, which with my Nottingham race losing a 10-second gap under 2 yellow flags, I wish that was an option for petrol karting, but that's another story. And also with the red flags, they just turn them off, so the staff are kept super safe. Obviously, if you're in a proper race situation, the gap that you have to the guy behind you is exactly the same coming out of that yellow flag or red flag as it was going into it. So I personally think that is a brilliant feature. I have been told they're on about removing it, which I personally think is daft. TeamSport, if you watch this, I don't know if you do, but please don't do this. I've been told a reason why you're looking at removing this feature, but me personally, I think the pros for this far outweigh the cons. So please keep it like this, where you just turn the karts down on a yellow flag and turn them off on a red flag. It's much better, and I wish you could find a way to bring it to your petrol karts as well, because it will stop people from cheating. It's going to keep your staff safe at all the venues in my eyes. And yeah, just don't get rid of this feature, please, I beg you. Session 1 done and dusted then, sliding everywhere like Bambi on ice, but I managed to set myself a time of 34.6, which put me in second place for that one. So pretty happy with that for my first time out. So now let's see what these next two sessions bring. So let's go for another 15 minutes of a silent go-kart disco then, shall we? So we're just going to go straight into my fastest lap of this session, which I set quite early on, which is very odd for me. I'm normally setting my fastest laps towards the end, but I did this on lap 7 and set myself a time of a 34.2, so it was a 4/10 gain over the previous session. And part of that is A, obviously I've learnt the line a little bit, but B, my driving technique. I figured out partway through this one, the way to drive these karts is not being particularly smooth on your steering. You really need to flick it into the corners, especially upstairs on the two left-handers before heading down the ramp. You really need to flick it in to get that front end to bite. Being smooth on the steering, I was finding, just meant you ended up washing wide with a load of understeer. And yeah, I had that one little bit of traffic before heading up the ramp, so I lost probably a couple of tenths through there, but all in all, that wasn't a bad lap. Now let's go to some highlights from this session. As you can see at the bottom there, someone has actually welded themselves into the barrier. That is quite the place to go into the barrier. I don't really know how he's done that. But then as well, here comes a massive dive into the hairpin up the ramp. And here comes a black flag for the kid in green. The lad in front of me, we're both quicker than him, but it's a very hard track to overtake around here, so he eventually gets up the inside, knocks him a little bit wide, and then in front of the pits and the staff, the kid in the green decides to ram him into the barrier. So yeah, well deserved black flag there. What an absolute dick move. But as we come round, he goes in to the pits to have his black flag and is telling off from the staff. So I'm thinking, great, he's out of our way, we can now carry on doing our hot laps. However, the following lap, as I come round past the pits, who pops out at the end? The kid in the green suit. Brilliant. Not what I wanted, but I managed to dispatch of him actually pretty quickly and very cleanly. I will take that, thank you very much. And then the final couple of clips are just me being a bit of an idiot and playing a bit of bumper cars, completely unintentional as always, but yeah, here's a couple of bumps from me. Third and final session of the night then. So it's entitled Trust, as me, Ollie and Tom, the two lads in front of me, the other two members on this session, got ourselves into a nice little train, and we were just able to follow each other around the track for quite a few laps before we came up behind some traffic where we could just go flat out the whole way. We didn't have to worry about where each other was going to brake. We didn't have to worry about if any of us were going to spin out or bump into each other. It was just great, clean lapping. We managed to set some decent laps. I actually set my fastest lap of the evening in this little section here, so I will highlight that when we get to it, and that was a time of a 34.1, which when I set that time put me second for the day, and then also by the end of the week I was still 8th for the week, so I was really happy with that, especially for my first time at this track. My final lap of the third and final session was actually a little bit quicker, however the yellow flags came out to end the session just as I was coming down the starting grid, so I ended up losing 2 tenths in all after I watched the footage back. So I would have ended up setting a 33.9, but that wouldn't have improved my place for the day or the week. However, it would have just been nice to dip into those 33s, so I guess I'm going to have to go back, aren't I? And that's going to do it for this one. We got caught up behind the guy in front for quite a few laps, so I just completely backed out of it to try and set a better lap time, but unfortunately wasn't able to do so. So we're going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this one as much as I enjoyed filming it, because these electric karts are wicked, and if you're sceptical about them like I was, please just book yourself onto a session and go and try them out. I reckon you'd absolutely love them. And also don't forget, my giveaway for the £20 TeamSport voucher is still live until August the 31st, so check the description box below for the link to the video that will give you the terms and conditions for that giveaway. And please get entered, you've still got plenty of time to do so. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a like, drop me a comment down below, and also if you don't already, please consider subscribing, and I will catch you in the next one.